All right, hello and welcome, all my lovely people. Today's class, we are going to dive into Gmail, calendar, and our Google Drive. So we're going to start with Gmail. Most of us kind of, well, hopefully at this point in society, we all know how to use email and its most basic function. But what we're going to do today is going to dive into some of the features that you may not know existed. So as we mentioned in our class this morning, I highly recommend to make sure that you sign up for the free Google Workspace and get a custom email. As you may have noticed, mine is media@stcpta.com. That gives you a few perks, but for most of what we're going to go through today, you don't necessarily have to have, Google Workspace to do that. So for basics, we'll start over here on the left. You can always compose an email. One of the first things I'm going to draw to your attention is this, first of all, absolutely needs to be updated. I put this in here to kind of show you what an old version of this looks like. You definitely want to create an email signature for your PTA. If you're tending to send emails from your personal account, it may not be as important because your personal email, you don't want to have that signature pop up for every single thing because you might accidentally send an email that it was not part of PTA and just put your PTA signature on it. You really don't want that to happen. So that being said, if you have a PTA email, whether it's through Google Workspace or you just set up an email where it's abcpta@gmail.com, you definitely want to set up a signature. So that's one of the first things we're going to hop into is settings. There's some basic ones here, but we're going to jump into see all settings. So when you first set up a Gmail account, I highly, highly recommend go through all of these options. You really only need to do it once, and then once you set it up, it'll continue to do whatever you need for it to do. So for example, how many do you want an undo send? I recommend having one. If you've ever accidentally sent an email and then thought, oh no, I need to change it, you can change how long of a period it gives you. I set mine to 30 because I like to make sure I give myself as much time before the email actually goes out. You can change your defaults here from reply to reply all, and some other features here as well that you can change if you'd like. I'm going to stop here on conversation view. For those of you who have not used Gmail before, conversation view, the way that it works is it kind of lumps every email together with the same subject to have it all in one thread. So you don't have to read email after email after email. It combines all of it, and it can be extremely useful. But I have mine off in a word of caution with that. If you have something where the email subject is the same, so for example, if you've set up a Google form and the replies are coming in and sending you an email automatically, you're not going to see multiple emails of the same thing. Now, you may not necessarily need to, as long as you know that, if you get one email from your Google form, you get 10 emails, to go check it. That's fine. But if you do have anything where you get emails of the same subject line, it does lump it all into one. I have missed emails for that reason in the past, but it's an extremely convenient tool, but use that with a grain of salt. Scrolling down here, if you are on your desktop, you can have notifications on or off. My picture, if you're using a PTA email, absolutely, you want to put your PTA logo here. What we did at SCC PTA was put the SCC PTA logo a little bit like watermarked in the background, and then the name of the person who's actually sending that email. So all of ours will say admin or president or media, all of that will be there. So here's what we want to get to for signatures. When you're doing a signature, you do want to make sure one down here for new emails. So that this one will always make sure that when you're composing a new email, it's going to have your signature. And you can have multiple signatures here. Most people only need one, but if, let's say, you're working with sponsors or something and you want to change the information you send, or for whatever reason you want more than one signature, you're more than welcome to do that. But for new emails, you want to make sure it's defaulted to be on. Now, if you want it to be when you're replying to someone, you can turn that on too. I don't like that one's not as necessary because that can kind of clog up an email. If someone's emailing you, they probably know who you are and you don't necessarily need to have your signature, but more than welcome to. So when it comes to signature, there are a few things that you want. Your name, your phone number, if you're comfortable giving it. If you're not, that's totally fine. If you have a PTA phone number, which you can set up through a Gmail account, you need help with that, you can always message me later. I can show you how to do that. So if there's a PTA phone number, you can use it. If not, absolutely take that out. Now I left this in here because this is a common, I'm gonna say a mistake. It's something that a lot of people tend to put in their email signatures. That's not necessary. You do not need to put your own email address in a signature. And I'm going to take that out. I wanted to make sure that was in there so you guys could see it. But if you're emailing someone or they're emailing you, they already have your email. There's no need to put that in the signature. Your signature, it's part of your branding. It's very important to make sure that it's clear, concise, and showcases exactly what you're trying to do. Now, you do want your title. If you're on the PTA, so this would be whatever your title is. For me, I would update this one. I'm on our admin account, so we don't actually email out of this one, which is why we use it for practice, but I will put media chair. Now, here's the next thing I do kind of want to highlight, and I put this here for a few reasons to see. One, you can tell that I put a picture in here that's not working. I did this last year, or a couple of years ago, actually. So this image is out of date for whatever reason. It has broken. So I need to put a new image in there if I want to, but I'm also taking out the Facebook link. One other common misconception that a lot of people have started doing is putting in a link to every single social media thing that they have, which is great. If you have the capacity to have all kinds of social media channels and maintain them, fabulous. But you want to have the link that's in your email signature to, again, to be short and to the point. So for us, I put www.sccpta.com. And the reason for that is where first thing you see is all of our other social media and ways to contact us. So when you have your signature, I've seen some people use like a hyperlink where they put all their social media links on one little, there's tools that you can do that, whatever it is. If you have a website, I recommend using the website because you can drive traffic there. And like we had, list all of your other contact information there. Your email signature, again, your email is to get information, to share information, to provide contacts. It's not really to broadcast your social media outlet. So one link, whatever that link is, if your PTA doesn't have a website and you only communicate through Facebook and or Instagram, you can put that there instead. You just don't want to have a link for every single thing that you have. Your email will get bogged down and people will stop paying attention to it. Underneath, you do want to have your logo. So I'm going to put a logo in here. And I'm going to upload our signature, which if I can remember, this is not our actual signature, but this is pretty much how it works. So you would take your PTA logo, whichever one that you are using, it puts it in there huge, so you can turn it down to the size that you want, like this one, and choosing medium because that looks like a decent signature. So this is very sweet, simple, to the point. And if you wanted to underneath that or above it, and you can put every child, one voice, something like that, this is a good signature. Now again, modify this how you want, but it's very important that whatever your board decides your signature should be, that everybody's using the same signature. Obviously, you'd put everybody would have their own name, their own information, but like if this were here and Shelly was doing it, it would be Shelly. I'd have her name here and hers would say president. So you want your email to be the same across your entire board. That's very important for your branding. It helps people recognize your PTA, it helps people recognize your email, and it builds your credibility. Okay, and then next thing down here after your signature is your vacation responder. Please, please, please use this. If you are, especially if you are someone that communicates with your parents or families, so like if you're the vendor person or sponsor person, programs chair, if you are, everyone should do it, but if you, especially if you communicate with families, you really want to make sure if you're going to be out of the office, which is good, when you are going on vacation, you don't need to be doing PTA. Someone should be able to help out, or you can wait till you get back, but turn it on, just let people know something's short and simple. I'm out of the office until Monday. Here, you'd want to put the exact date. So say 7/24. And if you need something in the interim, give them someone else to contact. And then you have the option to only send it to your organization, which you probably wouldn't want, again, because you're wanting your families to be able to contact you. So I'm going to stop right there. Any questions so far on our overall settings? Okay, cool. The next thing I'm going to go into is labels. Labels can be intense, exciting, or you cannot use them at all. Emails can have multiple labels. So one of the most important things to realize when it comes to Gmail is that inbox your inbox is considered a label. So you can put as many labels on an email as you want to help you sort and organize. But your inbox is the label. So if you have an email, let me come back here real quick, just so we can see this. If you have an email like this, it is in my inbox. It has the label. If I want to archive it, what I'm doing is pulling the inbox label off. So that's something important to keep in mind. But when you have a label, you can create as many as you want. So if you wanted to create a new label, let's say I wanted to create one for fundraisers, I can create this fundraising label, and I can come over here and I can label my email with that label. So you'll see your option up here to create that label. This is it's labeled as updates, but I can change it. Like now this is a fundraiser and it's a social. So if I do that, you'll notice that it starts tagging it up here. And you can come over here to your labels as well. Once you make a label, if you click on it, it'll pull up every email that you've labeled with that particular label. You can come over here and change the color of your labels. You can have it show only if it's an unread label. You can also add sub-labels. So if I wanted to say, let's say I did one with ABC Moneymaker. I don't know, I'm totally making this up. So now not only will it have that tag of fundraisers, it'll say ABC Moneymaker, and I can find all the emails that are associated with that. You can also create rules. So with your label, so if I want to say, I'm going to make one from Shelly, I'm going to make a rule, but pretend Shelly is a fundraiser person for this particular incident. So what I can do here is I can say every email that comes in from this person. So if this were a fundraiser that I was looking for from ABC Moneymaker, I would put their email address, or you can have a specific subject line, whatever you're looking for that's going to come from that fundraiser, and you can create a filter. Once you create that filter, here's some of the options that you have. So, and this is where you pick the label. So I could say any email that comes in from ABC Moneymaker, I'm going to put that label for fundraisers ABC Moneymaker. And what that will do is that will automatically label everything that comes in as that particular, it'll give it that label. So everything from this fundraiser person will automatically have that label applied to it. As you can see, you can put other, make it do other actions. If you have someone who spams you, you can have it automatically delete it. You can also actually create it and forward it to someone. This is, I use this one with caution, because what this does is it'll forward every email from that person that you selected. But there's so many options here when it comes to rules. This can be extremely helpful in helping you automatically organize your emails without having to do it manually every single time. And those labels stay. Like I said, you can add, you can remove, you can do it in bulk. So let's say if I have lots and lots of emails, I can take all of these and I can apply the label to all of them at the same time. You can remove it, labels in bulk, all kinds of cool options there. All right, any questions on labels? Nope. All right, cool. So the rest of this, I'm gonna, again, I recommend go through all of this just to kind of keep a look at, get familiar with what your options are. If you, I'll stop here. If you have any filters, if you make them, this is where you can come see all the filters that you've done. And then there's all kinds of options that go through here. The only other thing that I really wanted to hop into with email, if you'll notice in Gmail, your Google Chats here, if you guys use that for your team, we use Facebook Messenger, but chat is here. It's already built into your email address. So it's a super easy thing to use for your team. Your Google Meet option is here. If you set that up, you have Google Workspace, then you don't have to worry about your time limit, or at least as far as I know, unless they've changed that. You can set yourself to active. You can put yourself to do not disturb. So that'll make sure if you have chats on, you're not getting messaged. And then your calendar is over here. You can have that pop up. Google Keep is here if you would like to take notes, make messages, etc. You can create tasks for yourself and your team. And then your contacts. And this is what I'm going to hop into next, because this is important for email. So if you have contacts, you can create a contact. So I'm going to put Shelly in here again. And we're going to put president at, let's just see, PTA.com. So where contacts is important, you definitely want to have all of your board, but you would also want to have anybody that you contact on a regular basis. And I'm going to use the fundraising as an example again. So we're going to come over here into contacts. And when you create contacts, this is similar to how we did labels with our, that we just did before. So we're going to label our contacts too. So I'm going to take, whoops, so I'm going to click here on this contact that I just made, and we're going to pretend that we have the whole board here. And I'm going to add a label. When you label your contacts, it makes it easier if you want to send an email to your entire board. You don't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. So I'm going to say PTA board. And I'm going to save that. Now, just to make it easier, I'm going to add another contact in here. My other email in here, media@scpta.com. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to add the label. And just like in messages, you can have multiple labels on a contact. And then you can pull them off. Once you've created the labels, just like before, you can click over here. You can change the color of your label, etc. But where this is important and where it comes into emails is now when I come to compose and I want to go to, I can start just type in the label that I've made and it'll email everybody that I put that label on. So like our board, I think has like 13 to 20 people, depending on how many people we've actually filled. But that way I don't have to type out an email address. I don't have to put 20 emails in here. I can just type my label and it'll send it to everyone. You can do the same thing with sponsors. So let's say you create a sponsor label, you can say, ABC PTA sponsors, and you could have 50 to 100 people. They may not be sponsors this year, but maybe they want to be sponsors in the future, or you want to send recurring reminders to the sponsors, whatever lists that you want to make. You could have one for volunteers. You could have a label for all of your volunteers in your contacts. And then you just have to start typing in that label. And you see, as soon as I click on it, it puts everybody that I put that label on. Love, love, love that feature. And that's pretty much it. You can also export. So if, let's say someone else is new to the team and let's say they don't have all the board contacts, we just made an email for them. You can come over here and you can export your list. And you can do it to a Google CSV or whatever you'd like to do. And you can export it. And then the person who you just added to your team can just import it to theirs. So they don't have to go through and re-add every single person that's in there. So that makes it easier. You can share your contact list. You can just email it. But I love that particular feature of emails. And that's pretty much it. That's all the time I'm going to spend on emails. Unless we have any questions, we will hop over to Google Calendar. Okay, I could spend all day on cool things to do in email. Again, like I said, just come in here, start pushing buttons. If you get stuck or anything, you can always just let me know. All right, let's hop into Calendar. So Calendar is another tool. Again, I'll just get in here and start pushing buttons. You'll have so much fun. Or maybe that's just me, but there's a lot of really cool features within Calendar. So most people know the basics. So if you click on a particular date, this is how you create an event. You can always click on more options. If you want to expand it, you can put your title. I'm going to put fake event. We're not actually doing anything. A lot of what this is useful for is like board meetings or anything that's anything that's a recurring meeting event. You can put anything on here. Recurring meetings is probably going to be your board meeting. So let's say your board meeting is the first Monday of every month. So we're going to say our next board meeting is August 7th. We're going to meet at 7:00 p.m. And if you're doing it at the school, let me pick a school. Whoops, can't spell Sanford. Pretend we're. All right, never mind. It's not going to do for me. Spell it out. There it is. Okay, so we can put our address if we're meeting in person. If you're meeting, like I said, if you have Google Workspace, you can add your Google Meet conferencing. That way you can meet with your team. And it just embeds it right there. You can incorporate other apps. So if you have like BlueJean, and I want to say WebEx can be incorporated as well. But again, all of your tools are right here in Google. It's just easier to use all of the same. You can set your notifications on how often you want to remind people and whether you want it to be a push notification, which is what this is. It'll pop up on their phone, or if you want to send them an email. So a good way to do this is if you're sitting on board meeting invite, you can say, please fill out your monthly report form here. And then you'd have a Google form for them to fill out their monthly report form. And if you have not Learned how to convert your Google form responses into PDFs. That class is later. Highly recommend taking that because that makes it all pretty and super easy. But you would attach your link here. I'm just going to pretend that's a link. And then you can come up here to repeat. So you have the option to select monthly on the first Monday. What that's going to do is it's going to do it every day forever. So instead, because next year's board may not necessarily want to do it on the exact same day, you can still have it repeat every month on the first Monday, but you can come in here and say, I want it to end in May. So May will be our last month. And that way this will make an event every single Monday until May. Now you can edit in events individually. So if you do this all the way through May and you have to change one day because of a holiday or whatever your reason is, you need to reschedule, you can just reschedule that one event and the rest of them out through May will still remain the same. So you can have your email. We're going to have our email go out, say at least 2 days before to remind them, and then a push notification 30 minutes before just to let them know, hey, it's time to get on. It's going to default to whatever your default calendar is, and I'll get to that in just a second, and then it'll be busy. Now you can also include attachments here. If you do include an attachment, it is going to create a Google Drive link if it's not already one. So if you attach a PDF or whatever you're attaching, it will create a Google Drive link and ask you if you want to share that with everyone on your team. So I would, like I said, I like keeping stuff in Google Drive. We'll get to that in a second. Now, here's another fun part that you might want to use for your secretary. You have create meeting notes. So if I click this, what it's doing is as soon as I hit save, it's going to generate a Google Doc. So few ways to do this. Your secretary can use this and take notes throughout the meeting. Everyone else can take notes. Or what we tend to do is just put those notes in the Google Drive later for everyone to see. But we can do this where everybody can contribute and help take notes, or if you're working on something together, whatever the case may be, you can have notes attached as well. So whatever is easier for you, you can attach your agenda here. This is great. This is how you're going to do most basic meetings. Another cool part of this is when I add everybody, let me see, I'm going to add myself, and let's see, add awards. So let's just pretend that I have our whole team here and I'm looking for a meeting. You can click find a time, and we're going to switch this over from a daily view to see the whole week. And this kind of lets you know when everybody is busy or not busy. Now, keep in mind, this is only their PTA calendar, not their personal calendar. So just because it's open doesn't necessarily mean it's available, but you can have the option to see everything that's on everything that where your team is busy. So you have two options. You can have it just show whether they're available or not, or like it's set up here to show exactly what they're scheduled to do. So you can share your whole thing. Like this is, I put where mine's open for everyone on my team to see what I'm doing. I find that that's helpful, but that's preference between you and your team. Any questions on creating an event? All right, then we're going to back out of here. The next thing I do kind of want to go into is calendars. So you can have your own private calendar. So for this one, you have a calendar for your particular email box. Every email box has its own calendar, but you can make public calendars as well. Now, what we did is we created an email address because I wanted it completely separate. So we have calendar@sccpta.com, and that's what feeds our public calendar. You can embed these calendars, and I'm going to come here to show you what it looks like. You can embed them on a website, and it automatically shows everything. As soon as you update your calendar, it updates here on the website too, if you've embedded it. And you can also share it. So if you have seen that link on Facebook, I'm going to show you how to do that here. You can come in here to settings and sharing. Once you've created it, you can click it here. If you've not created a public calendar yet, you can come up here to settings. And you can create one here. So public, and the reason public calendar, like you can have your own calendar and then set specific events for everyone to see. So if you have a PTA email, you can, most of your events or whatever you schedule is just going to be seen by you and whoever you invite. But you can create a second calendar. You can even create a team calendar. We use them at work for seeing who's out of office and etc. But this public calendar lets you set things that are open to the public, right? So people can export it to their own calendar. You can get the shareable link right here. This is what you would share on social media. And what this does is anyone who has this link can see what's on your public calendar. And that the last thing here is import and export. I bring this up only because a lot of events that other people send out tend to come in I forgot the extension, but they are oh yeah, there it is, iCal or VCS. So other calendar invites can sometimes download. If you want to import them here, you can do that, or you can export them yourself as well. And that is pretty much it. For settings, you can set if you want to. You can also set in when you do and do not work. So you can set when you're typically available. Most of us, that's very flexible, but if you want to, you can absolutely put in the amount of time that you're available, where you're at. You can put all of this in if you want to. Lots of features here. All right. Any questions on Google Calendar? All right. Then we will hop over to Google Drive. Wrong email box. So we've been talking a lot today. Okay, so Google Drive is where you're going to store all of your information. And there's two drives. This one's a little bit messy because I've been playing around in here today, but there's two drives. You have your own personal drive, and then you can share a drive. Now there's a difference between shared drives and shared with me. So shared with me means that someone has created something, whether it's a Google Doc, it can be a folder, a Google Sheets, it could be a PDF file that they've had in here, whatever it is. That means that they have shared it with you specifically. They have shared that item or a folder of items, they've shared it with you. They can share it with multiple people, but if somebody shared something with you, that's where it's going to show up as. Now, a shared drive, you would actually need to create this in Google Workspace. So if you don't have Google Workspace yet, or you don't intend to sign up for it, that's fine. You can still share things. You can create a shared folder. The main benefit to the drive is you're going to have a lot more storage space. So you see down here, we have 100 terabytes of data. So way more room if you can set up a drive, and everyone will still have their own individual drive. When it comes to storing things, the thing you want to think about, what goes in your drive is going to be things that only you or someone who takes over your role is going to need. So if anybody has ever had a role and has been handed those big, thick paper binders where everyone's like, here's what we did the whole year, and it's just like so much paper. I am not a fan of it, one, because trees save them, but also they are very, very difficult to find what you're looking for. Whereas when it's digital, you can just use this handy dandy search function up here and search for what you're looking for. So you can look for just documents. I can look for spreadsheets, presentations. I can open up here and get really specific. I can look for something that's owned by me. I can look for something like, you can even do a specific person. So if I want to look for something that I know Shelly made, but I can't find it, or I can't remember what it was, you can really go through and filter and look for things with a lot more specific information than you can in a big, beautiful binder. So when you create these email boxes and you're using them, you want to do that with that in mind, that you're using this with the intention of passing this off to someone else who should be able to just jump in and find what they need, and have access to historical records and not have to do anything. So you want to keep things organized. Whatever structure that your board chooses to use is fine, but keep it consistent. And so I'm showing right here as an example, whoever had this box before me liked to sort things by year. My personal preference is to sort things by category, because that makes it easier for me. Like if I'm looking for fundraising vendors, I don't want to go into 2023 and then 2022 and then keep clicking on fundraising vendors. I want to see them all in one place. That is just preference. But whatever system that you do use, you do want to keep it consistent. It makes it a lot easier to find things. And you want to adopt a naming convention. So typically what I like to do when I'm making a file, and I'm just going to rename this one as an example, I like to start with the year first, and then the month, and then the day, because that keeps it alphabetical when it comes to things that I'm making. So I would do, if I was making something for today, I'd do 2023, 07, 23, file. And then if I was doing the same thing for next month, let's say this was a monthly report, I would do 2023, 08, 23, file. So that way the file name should say exactly what it is. And then the date shows you the date that it's made. That's if you're having something where you're doing over and over again, like your monthly minutes, monthly reports, anything where you're going to keep doing the same file. You want different dates. Other examples would be your tax exempt forms, your audit form, anything that you're doing on a regular basis, even if it's annually, keep your naming convention the same. You can put this in your standing rules. Doesn't necessarily have to be a rule. You can put a digital guide out for your team, or Google Drive guidelines for your team. So that way everybody knows. And not everybody knows how to use Google Drive. If you want to preface that, if you're not sure, I'm happy to do one-on-one training, or you can show them as well. Take 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of one of your board meetings and just go through and show people. So that being said, shared drive is, so that's your personal drive. That's things that only you or the person that is going to come after you needs. Now, if you put something in here, you can absolutely still share it with someone else. But shared drives are a little bit better because there's a lot more room in them. So you can put what we did and what I like to do, you can put a folder for every single position that's on your board. So this is where you'd want to put things where people would share. So for example, I'm the media chair. I put local unit logos in there. Pop in my folder just real quick so you can see it. So document templates, when their birthdays is, I keep a database of all of the Google Forms that we have. I made this spreadsheet for all of the social media links for our local units. This one's interesting because you see the little people here, this little symbol, and you'll see, I'm actually going to go back real quick. When you see these little people icons, what that means is it's shared with someone outside of the organization for whatever reason. So for example, the teacher rep folder, she would have shared her folder with people within her committee. And there's different sharing levels as well. So I'm here in this one in particular. So if you're not sure who it's shared with, all you have to do is right click on it or click on it here and come up here. The options are up here as well, whichever is easier for you. And you can click share. And you can see who it's shared with. So as you can see, everyone on our team, it's automatically shared with because it's in our team drive. As soon as you put anything in a team drive, it's going to share it with everyone on your team. But if I look down here, everyone with the link can comment on this. And so few things when it comes to adding you through for your permissions. So for this particular one, I did not want anyone to be able to edit this particular spreadsheet because, like I said, not everybody is savvy with Google Sheets, and I didn't want someone to come in and accidentally delete it or mess up the formatting and make it difficult for other people, and I may not necessarily know that they've edited it. So I just kept all the editing to myself, but I put it where they could put a comment on it. So if a local unit got in there and they's like, hey, this isn't mine, they could put a comment and it will email me the comment that they made so I can go in there and fix it. So if you have a folder and you want to share it for, let's say, for example, you did an event, you did a carnival, and you want families to be able to share their photos with you, they can absolutely drop them in the drive. And that can be way easier than asking them to email you photos. And if they're, that will also let other people and other families see the same photos because maybe they didn't get a lot of pictures of their kids. They just want to see the other photos. So that would be something where you want to have people have different access. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come here to folder to kind of give an example. So if I wanted to share this with someone, I'm going to click share. And I'm going to pretend personal email, because you can share outside your organization, but you do, again, be careful with that, who you're sharing it with, and that permission is removed at the end of the year, especially, or if that person moves on, you don't want to leave permission to your team drive on here indefinitely. So when you add someone, you can give them content manager, which lets them add, edit, delete, or share anything in that drive. I would not recommend doing this with anyone outside of your board. Contributor is going to be like what I just mentioned, where you can have people put files in, but they can't delete them. They can edit them. And then if you'll notice over here to the right-hand side, and let me cancel this, it shows all of the activity. So if you ever are concerned or you're looking for something, you're trying to figure out where something went, your administrator or anyone who's a manager of that folder can see all of the activity of what happened in it. So you can see who moved what, who did what, and when. And deleted, the default delete is 30 days. So usually have at least 30 days is I have had someone accidentally delete the entire drive. Now I knew it was fine because I knew I could get it back, but they didn't, and they panicked and they were so upset. And again, it was an accident, but if something does get deleted, you usually have 30 days to get it back. So that's something to keep in mind when you're sharing if it is lost, and that's only going to be an administrator. And that's with Google Workspace. As I mentioned before, you want to always make sure you have 2 admins. If you are setting up a team folder and it's not in Google Workspace, you would want to put that under your main PTA email and make sure that any other PTA emails have access. And that what I would recommend is having the backup email be the main, like the president email. So if someone leaves, and then like the president email can be backed up to the VP or whatever. So make sure that every PTA email has a backup to get to it. So if in the event that someone gets locked out or someone leaves or someone just decides PTA is not for them anymore, or whatever the case may be, worst case, they get hacked, there needs to be a backup email for every single email account. Now, if you have Google Workspace, you'll have an admin console. You don't really have to worry about that too much. As long as you have 2 admins, anybody can reset the email if they're an admin and help people get unlocked. So let's see, apologize again. And I think that is kind of high level as far as the drive. You can create new things from right here within the drive. You can upload files, you can upload entire folders, you can put whatever that you would need to in here. Lots of things that you can create within our Google Drives. And I think that's pretty much high level. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. I will stop now for questions. What do you guys think?
That is awesome. I love that you can, like, when you said the thing about like setting up the email and then being able to like set it up to go to like all the people at the same time. I was like, God, because sometimes I forget who's on my board. Like I know who they are. And I'm literally checking the names off as I'm like, okay, Shelley, okay, Heather, and oh yeah, Michelle. And I'm like, oh, that saves me. And like I did it at work and it was fine, but my work email is Outlook. And then this was different. And I don't, and I was like, but that's a game changer. For me, that's a game changer. And then like when you can go in, because we don't have Google Workspace because nobody would set it up. And I think I'm just gonna have to suck it up and do it myself. But that would help us, like with everybody having their like the treasurer and whatever, because next year it's gonna be all new people. And so like having all of like, because now like it's all like our Google Mail is like our, like it's just a Gmail account for Evans PTA, but it's attached to me. And so
Right.
like, when I go, I'm going.
That is that's exactly right. I hopped over here real quick just so you can kind of see if you do get Google Workspace, this is what your admin dashboard will look like. You'll have so many more options. You can manage users. And so you can even see how long it's been since they've logged in. Now, a word of caution, if you do ever use this, this is how long the last time they've signed in. So if someone signs in on their phone, it may leave them signed in for a month before it asks them to sign in again. So just because you see this doesn't mean they haven't been on in 6 days.
Right.
But like this one, where's this one? We don't have this position filled. We're still looking for a sponsor share. So hint for anyone here. But you can tell this one hasn't been activated. So it gives you a lot of options here. And you can go through and set permissions on apps and what apps people can use, help them out, etc. All kinds of cool options through Google Workspace.
Now the Google Workspace one that you did this morning, that one was recorded?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
okay.
It was recorded. It's going to take I want to say a couple weeks because I have to go through and block out any information, which is a little annoying, but any email, YouTube has started flagging my videos like it's personal information. Like, no, it's not. It's on our website.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I'm gonna watch it. I was at church, so I can see this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's recorded. And like I said, if you need help when you go to sign your PTA up for it, or when you go to sign up your PTA, just let me know. We can set up a time. I'm happy to walk through it.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Or if not, I'm going to stop this recording. All right, let me stop recording then. Oh, hang on. Hang on, I was just kidding.